but we're going to do it. So now we have, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this place is a mess. The roof is leaking. It's just a total disaster. Rats all over the place. I mean, it was a nightmare. But I got to see a transformation over the years of this place that was so nasty. And believe me, I came from the suburbs, a very nice home and everything, so this was a big stretch for me. But the miracles were endless. Okay, so the third year goes by, and now $50,000 we owe them for the rent for the year, or they could take the building back. We did not have the money at the beginning of the day. At the end of the day, someone walks in and gave us a check for $50,000 for it. The same thing happened the next year. We owed $50,000, didn't have the money on the day. 3 different checks came in from 3 different people, and it came out to $50,000. So this went on until people started donating more, and then we didn't have to deal with that anymore, and we got it paid off. But I just want to encourage you that when God is in something and you listen to Him and you do what He says to do, there's no telling what He's going to do with it. And that's what happened with me. When He started downloading the art, I was simply obedient to start painting what He was showing me. And that's what prophetic art is. You're tapping into heaven. You're tapping into the Lord's heart, and you're expressing it in some form of art. And this is not just about art again. It's about releasing creativity, and each one of us is born creative. Now, when I go through my list of things that block creativity, number 1 is when people say, I'm not creative. They'll say, well, I'm just not that talented in it. I'd like to do it, but I can't do it. Well, the fact is, as soon as you said, I'd like to do it, means the Lord put it on your heart to do. And that means you're supposed to do it, and He's going to be with you when you do it. So that's what happened in the art. I realized all I have to do is ask Him, and He'll show me, He'll give me some ideas, He'll give me His heart, and then my job is to start putting that on the canvas. He showed me to work in acrylics. And so the neat thing is, after all these years with the poor, and we had some of the greatest speakers that travel now, Chuck Pierce and Patricia King, Heidi Baker, all these people would just pop into our warehouse anytime they wanted, and they would hang out with us, prophesy, sometimes speak at conferences, and so we got real spoiled in that. Well, I also developed a lot of relationships, and when I started painting, then doors started opening to have places to paint, which was really cool. So after these 2 years of painting like crazy, we happened to be visiting in Florida. And nearby, there was a conference going on, and my husband said, why don't you call up your friend Joanne, that's Joanne McFadder, she's a prophetic psalmist, and just see if you can go paint at that conference. And my first thought was, the last thing I want to do is paint with anybody watching. I'd just like to do it with nobody watching in my little studio. But I was obedient, and I called them up secretly wishing that they would say no. Well, sure enough, they said, oh, we'd love for her to come and paint, and we're going to put her up on stage with a spotlight. So immediately I panic. This fear sets in, which is another blockage, is fear of man and fear of failure and all those kind of things. And so I headed down to the beach because I get a lot of life just being around water. And so I'm walking along the beach early in the morning, and I'm talking to God and commiserating that I have to go paint in front of people and not knowing what to do. So I'm walking along, and the next thing I know, an apple literally rolls up out of the ocean to my feet. And as clear as I've ever heard him speak, he said, you are the apple of my eye. Whew, that's what I said. And so that immediately lifted all this junk off of me, all this performance stuff and this fear and everything. And while I'm thinking all this stuff is lifting, I see the apple go back out in the ocean. I see a little speck of red. And I wanted that apple. I said, God, would you please give me that apple? I really want it. And within about 30 seconds, it rolled all the way back into my feet again. So I thought that was double grace, double portion. But I picked it up, and I took it to the conference with me, and I put it on my little table, and I painted my first prophetic painting. What do you think I named it? Apple of His eye. Where did I put it? I think I brought it over here somewhere. I wanted to show you. I kept the original, which I sell a lot of originals, but I knew I needed to keep that original because it was real special. So this is a little version of it. It's called Apple of His Eye, and it just sort of expressed the freedom of knowing how much He loved me, and that was the whole thing. Once I know how much He loves me, I can do anything. We can do anything. And the fact is, He does love us that much, but I knew that there was some kind of wall there that was keeping me from experiencing the depth of the love that He had. For some reason, I knew He loved me in the head, but you know what? You got to get it in the heart. Once you get that thing in the heart that you know that He loves you, you can do anything. And then you're going to want to do what he says to do, because he's talking to us all the time. We just don't always listen. But anyway, so I still have that original apple that I got out of the ocean. I got the painting, and I got the apple in a little plastic bag in my freezer, and it says, Janice's Supernatural Apple, do not eat. And it's still there after all these years. And every once in a while, I get a little dark cloud over me. I want to get encouraged by that, and I do. So what happened then is I painted at the conference, and there was several people that I kind of knew from ministry and stuff, and Paul Keith Davis and Chuck Pearson and the like, and they just said, the door is open at any time you want to come and paint. And so I thought, well, that's pretty cool, and I just felt a lot of favor, and we can't underestimate the value of favor. And the Lord gave me great favor, and I was reminded of the scripture in Proverbs 19:17 that says, when you give to the poor, you lend to God, and he will reward. That means he's going to give it back with interest. So it made me believe that all those years of giving to the poor and serving and helping people, that he was rewarding me back, that he was giving something back that was very special. So I really appreciated that, and I wanted to be faithful. So now I'm going through a season where the last few years I've been traveling a lot and painting what he shows me, and I've been learning more about the Lord and more about his heart and about his attributes during this season than maybe all the other times of reading the Word and hearing it from others, that he's been teaching me lessons of life and lessons of people and having compassion for people that aren't just poor in the natural, but are also poor in that they're not thriving and walking in their destiny. And he's put this mandate on me to be used somehow to help get people released in their own creativity. And so I absolutely love to do that, to help, pray for people to get things broken off, and then they can walk out what God's showing them. And like I said, I prayed for a passion for something that I couldn't wait to get out of bed in the morning to do, not knowing what it was going to be. And it took probably a couple of years of that prayer before he did it. And also, I've never been a morning person my whole life. I just never got up that early. And remember, I prayed for something that I couldn't wait to get out of bed in the morning to do. He started waking me up at 5 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock. So I turned into a morning person when the Lord stepped in. And it actually gave me a lot more vital time in the day, because you get your quiet time in the morning. And it was just a more productive time. So again, it's hearing the Lord, not only hearing him, but doing something with it. So I wanted to share a little bit about what I've learned about art. And at the time, I didn't even know what the term prophetic art was. I just knew that, boy, something really amazing and supernatural is happening for me to be so excited about something I really didn't care that much about. I was more excited about other things. I loved worship, playing the keyboard, singing, and all that. But I still knew something was missing. So I began to just become desperate to hear his voice and do what he says to do. I continually said, before I paint, I say, Lord, what do you want me to paint? And one of the most asked questions I get is, how do you know what to paint? And I've learned that there is absolutely no formula for this. It would be nice if you could put it in a little box and put a lid on it, but I've learned God wants us out of the box, and he wants us to be dependent on him. He actually likes us in over our heads. And many times I've been in situations in way over my head, and I know that's where he wants me, and that's sometimes where I paint the best pictures that I can think of when I'm out of my comfort zone, so to speak. And I encourage other people that I teach art to, get out of your comfort zone. Don't just keep sticking with, what you're used to or what you like to do, whether it's pencil and, paper, or just staying away from color. Try some different color palettes and different things like that. So the same thing with business strategies and prophetic dance. Get out of your comfort zones and get into a zone of what he's showing you to do, and you're going to feel different. You're going to feel something in your spirit. And what happens is when you start feeling different about what you're doing, other people are going to notice that. And what I found is non-believers are attracted to the Christians who are walking out kingdom and thriving in what they're supposed to be doing. We should be doing stuff a million times better than the world, no matter what those 7 mountains are. If we're operating with what God has given us to do, we're going to be filled with joy to where we can spread it to others, and we're going to be filled with just these amazing downloads, these prophetic downloads that we can speak life into people through whatever artistic thing we're doing, through whatever business strategy we're doing. They're going to be absolutely amazed. So just to tell you a couple of the stories that I think will give you an idea of what the Lord's doing with this art. This is one story right here. This is called Free at Last. And on this one, this is one of the early paintings I did. It was a commission piece, and this man had a daughter who was being held in the occult by his ex-wife. He didn't have any visitation rights at the time. He was distraught about it. He said, Janice, I want you to paint something that's going to encourage me prophetically that I'm going to get my daughter back. I'm going to get her out of that situation. So immediately the Lord showed me a butterfly, but a supernatural kind of butterfly, very colorful, very abstract, with this daughter's figure. So here she has these butterfly wings. And right away, I look at it as one of the most prophetic things. As a butterfly, it represents transition and freedom, transformation, metamorphosis. And then the other thing is the Lord showed me to put this big sunflower in the picture, not knowing why. I don't think I was even used to painting sunflowers. Didn't really even know much about them at that time. So when he got the painting, he was really excited about it. He said, I'm just curious, why did you put a sunflower in the picture? And I said, I really felt that's what God said to do, but I don't know why. And he said, because I finally got visitation rights, and the first thing I did was I took her to a sunflower field and gave her a big bunch of sunflowers. So that just encouraged me that he loves to confirm. I don't always get a confirmation, even immediately or ever, but that really said, okay, God, I heard you, and I did what I didn't really even feel comfortable doing, but you blessed it. So by doing that, then I learned if I'll just be obedient, then it'll work out okay. It's when I try to do things in my own strength, just like whatever we do. If we try to do it on our own without him, it doesn't work out as well, does it? So if we just tap into what he's saying, then we get the blessing. This was another one that was kind of fun. He taught me some things about numbers, like you probably know some of the numbers mean different things. Well, the number 5 I think of as meaning grace. I think a lot of you probably know that. So I just got this vision inside that a girl on the beach holding a 5-pointed starfish representing grace. Well, what I didn't know was until later, a starfish, when an arm is broken off, it grows back, but it grows back stronger than it was before. So he showed me the message that as we go through our hard stuff and we persevere through it, like in the book of James, that we become stronger than we were before, just like that starfish. And it turns out I was painting it at a conference, and I was up in the mountains in Boone, North Carolina, and I'm trying to think who was speaking. Well, it was Kathy Walters and Sid Roth, that's who it was. And so it was a mountain atmosphere. It wasn't a beach atmosphere. It doesn't matter what the outside atmosphere is. It's whatever the Lord says to paint. And it turns out there was a lady there that knew that was her painting, and she had gone through a husband dying within the last couple of months and was grieving, and that represented that it was time for her to be free to live. And she just, it really brought her a lot of life. So it encouraged me as I could see people look at art and get life from it. So another time I got to a point where the Lord was saying, I'm not going to give you any more pictures until you paint a white horse. And I didn't know why I was supposed to paint a white horse, but it got me in the book of Revelation. Let's see where that one is. Okay. Got me in the book of Revelation, and I started learning about him, riders of justice, and he's coming on a white horse. Behold, I'm coming, that kind of thing. And so my husband had a birthday coming up, so I decided I'm going to paint my first white horse for David. So I got a big canvas, 40 by 40, and I just said, Lord, please help me, capture what you want in this painting. Well, the neat thing is a lady came up to me at a conference one time and said, I bought the print of that, took it home, and I put it on the wall, and I just stared at it for 3 hours, sobbing uncontrollably, while the Lord was revealing all this stuff from